30, 40 years later, we are way behind where we were in 1970 because we destroyed the military industrial complex of eastern Nigeria that we should have preserved, and maybe today we would have had major scientists developing space rockets. But we destroyed it, and that was a dumb move that the military did in 1970. The most significant part of my life happened when I was in university. It was now 1977. Music had changed, the world had changed. And the greatest star at the time was a guy called Elvis Presley. And I saw his concert 3 months before he died in Iowa State University. And what was significant for me at the time was watching Elvis perform and the crowd reaction, the fact that he could sell out. Elvis sold out, and I started thinking, I said, if this guy could sell out 18,000 tickets, there must be something about constant promotion. Maybe that's the business I should get into. And so it was significant in my life watching James Brown fighting for Black Power and Elvis making money. And then the 80s rolled along. I got out of school, I'd become a concert promoter in the early 80s, and I'd done a lot of shows. And I'll introduce you to one of the acts that I brought to Nigeria at the time. And then my business partner, Dick Griffey, who just passed away about a month ago, right? About a month ago, Dick Griffey. Dick Griffey was my business partner. In America, he had the second largest black record company in the history of America. Second to Berry Gordy of Motown. Barry had the Jacksons and Diana Ross and all the other guys. But Dick Griffey was special. He had a solar sound. He had Shalimar, Lakeside, Whispers, Babyface, The Deal, L.A. Reid, and all these other guys, and Jeffrey. And he introduced me to an inspirational speaker who was the greatest American at the time, and a man I have the greatest admiration for, Jesse Jackson. And in 84 and 88, I spent a lot of time with he stood for, the position he took. In 84, he came third in the race. He lost. But he used to say, I raised 3. And as he ran for office, it inspired me because I started thinking of politics. And I started thinking of maybe someday we could do the same in Nigeria, because he ran in 84 and 88. And I would attend thousands of his speeches and campaign rallies all across America. In 86, they approached me to provide a jet to take them to Southern Africa. The South African forces had just bombed the frontline states. If you know the history of the liberation of South Africa, Nigeria was considered a frontline state even though it went West Africa. So President Babangida at the time, through Professor Akiyemi, foreign minister, provided me with a jet. And I got Jesse and Congressional Black Caucus, Time Magazine, Newsweek, and we toured the frontline states. And we saw the devastation of the South African forces in Angola, Botswana, Namibia, and all the other countries. And it gave me an indication. In Botswana, at the border, with Reverend Jackson, we were supposed to meet Winnie Mandela at the time. Nelson Mandela was in prison. As we got there, preparation for the visit, we got attacked by South African troops moved towards us, and we all ran away, and that meeting didn't take place. But he did what he could to get Mandela out of prison. And I'm one of his biggest fans. Life went on. The years rolled by. The military had given up power, and the civilian administration came on board. But prior to that, another hero of mine was Awolowo. Awolowo inspired me in many ways because as minister, or in those days they called them Commissioner of Finance, the Civil War was fought in 67 to 70 with Awolowo as commissioner for the last 2 years of that war. And Nigeria did not borrow 1 penny abroad to prosecute that war. How many people can stand up and say that today? So he inspired me, talking about money management. And as years went by, I met a terrific guy. And if you look at my career and my life, I was always inspired by people who fight for a cause and fight for somebody. Three-time heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali. When I met Muhammad, his best years were behind him. Parkinson had set in. I was at his house in Los Angeles. And we had nice conversations with Emeka Omeruwa, former Minister of Sports. But Muhammad was important to me beyond boxing. In 19, up to him and he said, Muhammad, you used to be Cassius Clay. And he said, yes, but I'm now Muhammad Ali, I'm a black Muslim. He said, well, Muslims know nothing about boxing. So I want you to have a white manager and a white promoter. And Muhammad said, no. My manager is Elijah Muhammad. If you want me to fight, Elijah Muhammad is my manager, you deal with him. And the white promoter said, but he doesn't know anything about boxing. Then he said, teach him. If he doesn't know, teach him. And so, while I was a big fan of Muhammad and I got to meet him, his boxing skills were one thing, but his ability to change the economic environment in America towards black people was more important to me. And when people come here and they say, I want to build a road, use a white contractor. Why can't you use a Nigerian contractor? If he doesn't know, teach him. If he can't, let him learn. Send him to school, educate him. He can be successful. My fight with people is because we may be free, but we have a slave mentality. We never think we can do anything. We must use somebody from abroad who thinks is smarter than us, and that guy becomes your boss. And as long as you have a slave mentality, you will never be free. The people who I've admired in my life taught me I must be free. Years went by, and I'm going between eras now. It was 1980. It was 1980. I was out of school. I needed a job. I didn't like working for anybody, so I wanted to work for myself. And I was listening to radio in Los Angeles one day, and I heard a song on the radio, Second Time Around. I loved that song so much, I stopped the car. And I stopped the car on the side of the street, and I just listened to it. It was such a beautiful song. And I called a friend of mine, and I said, you know, who wrote that song? Who are the guys involved in that? He said it was a guy called Dick Griffey. I said, okay, I want to meet him. I want to meet this guy, Dick Griffey. I don't know this guy. Who is he? He said, well, Dick Griffey is a very powerful African-American, and he controls the entertainment industry in America. Don't forget Barry Gordy at that time, his career had declined, and he was about to sell Motown. So I went to